what exactly is going on with Stellar, other than a rumor of MoneyGram going live with Stellar tomorrow, right? Well, that's more than a rumor. We've been talking about this for a while. There's been a lot of things that have been happening that we covered since even late last year. So is there, things coming into fruition? I would say that they are. How so? Well, let's take you over, of course, to some of the research that we have for you guys tonight, some of the things were shared, posted, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to pull this up first, and here it is, straight from Mr. Man. Shout out to Mr. Man, good person. Does a lot of great research. And here it is. And I do like this. MoneyGram's non-custodial wallet. Hear this out for a second. Non-custodial wallet. The other day, what did we talk a lot about on the last show? We talked about, for instance, Hedera. We talked about Bank Social, right? And, self-custody wallet through, for instance, Bank Social. Bank Social is basically a credit union for crypto, doing things with TradeFi and also DeFi, right? But this is Stellar that we're talking about, and it is a different wallet, but it's not, self-custody or anything like that, right? This is non-custodial crypto wallet that's set to go live in the first quarter, of course, 2024, where we are in the first quarter of 2024. So is it really going to happen tomorrow? We'll have to wait and see. But like Mr. Man posted, this particular wallet will be built, of course, on the Stellar network and will allow users to leverage stablecoin tech to move between fiat and, of course, digital currencies. There'll be no charge to use it until June 2024. So why is that? Well, think about it. Have you not seen this already with other particular things out there? I think you have. You have to keep in mind that, being able to give people an opportunity to try out the product before they just jump in is a good thing. Even I myself, I remember the days of, way back where even with video games, right? Everything had a price tag. And then we see things like League of Legends and stuff like that, where, play free to play, right? You don't put a price tag on it, but there's other things. You can sell the product. You get people addicted to the platform that they want more. I think this is a win-win, obviously. Give people a taste of that platform, and if they like the product, why wouldn't they come back? So the wallet itself will be built on the Stellar network. It will allow users to leverage, of course, stablecoin tech, like you mentioned before, to move between fiat and digital currencies. And there's, of course, a lot more to it, right? There's old Shaq getting excited. We're all excited. But I'm going to pull up this next thing. It's got a little brief video. Definitely want to share this with you. So this comes straight from Stellar itself. It's an official announcement. It says, when Danielle Dixon and, for instance, this particular person, Alex Holmes, who's the chairman and CEO of MoneyGram, get together, we listen, right? It says, tune into Block by Block to hear about MoneyGram's journey from traditional remittances to a digital powerhouse. I'll give you this little sample. I've also went to the Stellar Development Foundation, try to see if there was any recent interview, especially when this comes to this whole thing for Block to Block. There is. I went ahead and fast forward to those key areas. But I'm going to give you a little taste of this for a second. So let's listen to this.
I'm annoyed here because I listen to all these blockchain crypto companies saying they're going to put us out of business and they're going to reinvent, currency and all these things. And then you've got the fiat world sort of pushing back and arguing. And then I suddenly thought, well, what if we just sat nicely in the middle and you can interoperate and move things in between? And it's actually sort of, it's brilliant actually, because at the end of the day, you can go off and compete in the blockchain world and the crypto space, and those companies can come and say they want to do this, that, and the other thing. I'm just trying to help support financial inclusion. I'm trying to help people move money home, right? We're experts in cross-border payments. And if digital technology is moving into the crypto world and that's going to become part of it, then I want to be part of that as well.
All right. I think it makes a good point. It's not like there's just only one that's going to get the job done. This is why I feel as though being well diversified is the way to go, but to each his own. I can respect different opinions and I agree with all of it, but he does make a good, valid point. Jumping more into this, let's also share this. And this is a thing that's going to have, in my opinion, like one of the key highlights, okay, before we get more into this. So let's go ahead and share this as well. It's going to come up on your screen in just a moment. This is the thing I was talking about earlier, giving you that little brief taste of what's to come. Okay, so straight from the Stellar Development Foundation, technically posted on the 23rd, which was, a little over a week ago. But in this block by block discussion, it's Donnell Dixon and, of course, the CEO of Moneygram, Alex Holmes. Now, there's a lot more to be mentioned other than just a quick 45 seconds of what you just got. And I've decided to fast forward about this. Why? Because it's going to talk about this thing of what they refer to as opening up the network. Let's face it, guys. We are at that point right now. We are going to see, in my opinion, the start of some of this utility in motion. By making this whole thing a free platform, or to try it out and not have, these fees yet until June. Say what you want. That was brilliant. I'm glad they went with that. Give people a chance to use it. As the saying goes, word of mouth can spread like wildfire. Listen what they got to say here. We're going to play this particular segment about opening up the network, because you're going to hear it from the perspective of Donnell Dixon and also the CEO from Moneygram. And then we're also going to play this part about combining the two worlds. Like, yeah, Moneygram, Stellar. Like, how do they work hand in hand? You may already know about some of this stuff, but I guarantee you there's some things that you can learn that's beneficial to understand about the concept of utility in motion. Let the research speak for itself. Never financial advice. I just bring you guys information. Here we go.
Yeah. And so the thing that I find super interesting is that, and I remember like speaking to Anna and to you and to others about the APIs, and really, and Alicia, and getting those APIs like recharged internally, really changed the opportunity that you guys had to open up the network to all of these wallets, these digital wallets that were out there.
Yeah.
We think about it. I remember in one of our conversations, we talked about it as like, you could be the AWS for these wallets, where you open up the whole thing, right. And that's what you guys did.
Yeah. No, I think the idea that you came back with when we re-engaged was, initially, I think we thought about the Stellar adapter being a little bit more about remittance. And it was like, yeah, okay, I get that. But we just had a bad experience with a different company where we were like, this isn't really quite what we want to do. Because you also had some partners in Asia that were using XLM and trying to do a little bit of what we were seeing with the other guys. And so when I looked at that, it was like, and then you said, no, actually what I want to do is something slightly different, right? So I think it was, I don't know if it was your idea or someone on your team, but I'll give you the credit for it for now. You can distribute it later, but no, but the idea was I think to begin to bridge the two worlds. And, I do give a lot of credit to that, because for me, that was a big light bulb moment. And it really said to me, yeah, you know what, like I'm annoyed here because I listened to all these blockchain crypto companies saying they're going to like put us out of business and they're going to reinvent, currency and all these things. And then you've got the fiat world sort of pushing back and arguing. And then I suddenly thought, well, what if we just sat nicely in the middle and you can interoperate and move things in between? And it's actually sort of, it's brilliant actually, because at the end of the day, you can go off and compete in the blockchain world and the crypto space, and those companies can come and say they want to do this, that, and the other thing. I'm just trying to help support financial inclusion. I'm trying to help people move money home, right? We're experts in cross-border payments. And if digital technology is moving into the crypto world and that's going to become part of it, then I want to be part of that as well. And so right now, I think the elegant solution that we came up with was to be, the on and off ramps and take that as far as we could. And so that's been amazing.
Well, and I think that so much of it was that blockchain had historically, and I think actually Larry pointed out to me, Larry is the CFO of Moneygram, pointed out to me that on our own website, there was a point in there which was talking about Moneygram and how slow Moneygram was.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at that after the meeting, and I was like, oh, because my view was always that combining these two worlds,
yes,
actually the traditional financial infrastructure, the physical stuff that's so hard to build that you guys have done over years and years and years, is the part that actually helps and supports the blockchain piece. Yeah. And there's a symbiotic relationship there for sure. But it wasn't that we were going to disrupt. It was that we were going to work together to create this.
Yeah. You actually came with that complete angle of we're going to work together, right? And that's what's lovely about the SDF is that you guys have that idea of spreading and promoting technology for financial inclusion and bettering the world, not to profit yourself from it directly in that sense. And so the idea from a competitive was to empower your wallets and your network to actually utilize our network and vice versa. And I think that's extremely powerful.
And it's been so fun. We've been on that journey for just over a year.
Yep.
And then
I can't believe it's been, it feels like forever, by the way. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it seems like it's been going on a lot longer than that.
I know. Well, there was I think it's because, I mean, we did build the adapter in 2019.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So it has been a while with the adapter, which we now don't call an adapter anymore. We call it the Moneygram access. So it's built on top of the adapter.
It's always going to be the adapter to me.
Me too. But then now we're at a different part of the journey.
Yes.
Now you guys have launched this really amazing thing.
Yeah. So again, another, I think, brain trust moment, getting together and talking about what we could do. And I think you guys had an idea to sort of challenge us, like, could we think about the way that money moves through the MoneyGram network more like an NFT? And I think that was the example we were using at the time. And actually, what's kind of funny is, a lot of people ask me, like, why does MoneyGram exist, right? And I talk about that, and I always say because you got sovereign nations, banking is built for domestic rails, blah 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 blah. And when you think about MoneyGram, it's like we almost are a blockchain. Like, we're a disruptor in that sense. It's like we're not on a blockchain, but we run our own ledger, we run our own transactions. We actually take money and hold it on behalf of consumers while it waits to get paid out on the other side, which we can instantaneously do. But it's like, what do you have? You have a reference number, and that's representation that you gave me money, it's going over here, and if you want it back, you can have it back, and if you want to give that to the other person, you give it to the other person. And it's very elegant in that sense, and it is, and very much, sort of like that concept that we've come up with. And so when we started talking about, NFT or not, and I was like, and then I remember thinking, we could launch our own coin, and then I'm like, maybe not yet. And then this idea came up around, how about a non-custodial wallet? And we just make it as simple as possible. And I think we decided to just for now use USDC as the coin, but it becomes a representation of that money moving through the system. And I think what we launched with our non-custodial wallet is just amazing.
And it's really pretty. The user interface is really nice.
Yeah, well, I credit, Alicia and the product team, but also, of course, Cheesecake Labs and your team for stepping up and really coming up with something cool. It was funny. My son is always on apps, and he's in college, and he's like, does the MoneyGram app have dark mode yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, if you want to be cool, you got to have dark mode. So I think the wallet is only dark mode, which is like awesome. I was like, this is so cool.
It's really awesome. And to see that, I mean, just in the time that we've been working together, so the last 5 years almost, the transformation and bridging that gap between the physical and the digital that you guys have gone through is remarkable under your leadership and with this amazing team that you have. And that transformation took a lot longer because you started earlier, but it's so awesome to see it happen.
Yeah.
And this is the part about that interoperability that we need to all understand, is that working together, we can actually solve these problems very differently. And I am so excited about you guys launching that one.
No, absolutely. No, I thank you very much. And I credit your team for all their leadership and vision. And you guys push us pretty hard on customer experience. You push us really hard on sort of issues that come up along the way. And that's really helped shift. I mean, the partnership with UNHCR, I mean, that wouldn't, exist without your leadership. And, I'm proud of that relationship as well. But when I drop back and think about what we've built, it's so basic, but also so elegant and so cool. And the use cases now that we can put forward as we get new legislation, as we get more clarity on different laws and different markets, we can do some remarkable things with it as well, and really actually interoperate specifically for money transfers, interoperate between cryptocurrencies. We can get to the point perhaps where we can do our own coin and, custody and do some other things. And those are maybe a little bit down the road, but we're on the right path, I think, to really continue to drive digital transformation, innovation. And the beneficiary of that should be all these migrants around the world that, work so hard to get money back home. And when the money's home, they want to know that it's there. They want to know that it's safe, and that's huge. And if you can give someone, a stable coin or something that represents value without the worry about going to a physical location, or it's in a bank account, or losing value because the market's fluctuating, I think is really powerful stuff.
One of my favorite things about this is the fact that you now have that relationship through the MGO, through your digital wallet, through your the online presence, and then also through this wallet. You have that relationship with the consumer that you had before, but it was intermediated with the agent all the time.
Correct.
And this now is like game changing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is. It's like really sort of releases us to do Moneygram sort of at scale globally, which is awesome to think about. But at the same time, that agent network, as you pointed out, I mean, it becomes so much more valuable too, because now you're saying you're part of the future. And when you think about who our agent partners are in these markets, I mean, these are local providers. Sometimes they're local post office, sometimes they're local banks, but a lot of local retailers, a lot of local small mom and pop, they're living in their country. They're employing a lot of people, right? Revenue coming into them, continued operations means a big difference to them between survival and not survival. And so, the more that we can continue to value that network, the more value that they generate for their country. So, and that's really what it's all about. So,
yeah, I mean, the physical part is the part that you guys have really, really nailed. The digital part you're going into, and it's amazing to watch it. So thank you so much, Alex, for being here, and thanks so much for the partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay. It was really cool to listen to some of that. And I know that, it seems like it's a lot to take in. For me, one of my key takeaways I want to mention to you guys basically is when you heard Alex, right, CEO from MoneyGram, he was saying in the future to release a coin. Now, if you think about this, right, we have outlined the significance in regards to what Stellar has recently put out. You saw that regulatory, I guess you could say, blueprint through a white paper here recently. We did a deep dive in that regard, the significance about and so on. But it outlines, if you will, like this whole thing of the pathway forward for regulations and all these types of things. So, when we talk about pairings, I always would talk about that a lot when it came to Japan and JASMY, but this is Stellar that we're talking about. So the way I look at it is, for instance, USDC obviously would be a pairing, but in the future, especially when it comes to Stellar being recognized from the World Bank and also XRP as global stable coins, we get that regulations. Everything is basically, laid out and passed through legislation, as he pointed out. Well, what about also having, for instance, a pairing of, like your XLM with, for instance, MoneyGram? Now, in the past, people used to always point out when it came to MoneyGram, like, not that big of a deal. They're not going to specifically use Stellar XLM. It's just mainly going to be USDC and so on. But when you also see all this other research that, yeah, you want to know something? It's not the first time that we've seen the native token have pairings. I think a perfect example is what you're seeing right now with Bank Social. And we did talk about this yesterday. Hedera with Saucer Swap, you have the pairing of Hedera's native token as an HBAR. And what does it say, guys? When you go to Bank Social, that the top one as far as volume and trading right now is basically your HBAR/BSL pairing. So are we so oblivious to the notion that, in the future, an actual coin of MoneyGram paired up with something like XLM? Because if that's the case, then now it's like, wow, okay, that caught my attention. That's not just utility in motion. That is mass adoption towards utility in motion. And the other significant thing I want to point out is basically that you will see a period of time between this release that's coming out for MoneyGram going live with Stellar, right? Between hopefully sometime in February till June, where a lot of people get to try out, as the saying goes, to service the product. And then so from there, you get a lot of people already used to it, messing around with it, sending money to your loved ones, people overseas, and so on. And then it's like, okay, what's the next thing on this pathway forward for this journey? Well, it's kind of like what Alex said, the CEO. So I do feel as though MoneyGram has always stood out as far as mass adoption. And now you kind of have a taste of things to come. Now, for some people, they're like, oh, that's just speculative. But for the first time, you're actually hearing straight from, like a CEO, Alex himself, mentioning this. So is that so much of speculation, or is that understanding the bigger picture? Now, next thing I want to get into is another thing in regards to MoneyGram, Stellar, and so on. And let's go ahead and share this on your screen. You guys should be familiar with this lady. She is Anuya. She is from basically, Sorbonne, right? She's always in the interviews. One thing that I want to point out in that regard is some of these new things that are happening with Stellar. Let's face it, we're in luck to be able to cover Stellar 2 days in a row. Usually we can only cover it like maybe once, twice a week if we're lucky, not 2 days in a row. So there's a lot of momentum that's going on in regards to Stellar. But she states, kicking off the Techstars, which is, like it says, the world's most active pre-seed investor, times MoneyGram, times Stellar, or class of 2024. What exactly is this? And when was it posted? Well, yesterday. But taking you over to this is from Techstars, and it does mention that they have this thing about these payments powered by Stellar and MoneyGram and how they announce some of these key things, the excitement about it. But your key takeaway should be the announcement of 12 startups selected for the second class of Techstars payments program. While we were all excited about, for instance, Sorbonne going from 40 plus projects going live on, mainnet, then scaling up to over 100, and that's impressive. Also need to mention these. Like it says, these promising early stage companies are focused on innovative fintech solutions addressing gaps across the payments infrastructure. This program is the first Techstars accelerator to have a physical presence in Latin America. We'll be running a hybrid program, spending 1 week in Dallas, Mexico City, and so on, even Miami. But these startups will be supported by, of course, their amazing partners, which is Stellar and especially MoneyGram. The two organizations itself did come together, and they saw an incredible opportunity to build a robust payments and fintech ecosystem, of course, Latin American and other emerging markets. Look at this quote for a second. We search high and low for the grittiest founders and the most disruptive financial technologies that can solve real-world problems for businesses and consumers. Not, oh, this is just your average run-of-the-mill type thing. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Who said this? Managing Director Trisha Martinez. Quote, our 12 portfolio companies for Techstars, payments, by the way, are disrupting the way we think about finance, from how we transact to a person to see, for example, how we save our loved ones with, how business is built, credit, giving people access to what they didn't have access before, right? So here's the 12 in regards to this 2024 class, if you want to call it that. Of course, powered by Stellar and MoneyGram. And that part is crucial because we're not talking specifically about just Sorbonne. Back to the whole thing of what do we have at hand right now? Well, here they are. Cash Abroad. It's a payments platform for Latin American countries exploring and importing businesses. That sounds like utility in motion. DPay, providing easy to integrate interoperable crypto payment infrastructure, allows payment processors and gateways to accept crypto as a new payment method. Again, Stellar's mission to give access to the unbanked or people that just never had that type of access before. Now, there's a lot that's being mentioned here. I'll give another key highlight to this one. Guama, credit card for Latin America's underbanked population. Going down to this particular one, Retorna, revolutionizing finance for 43 million underserved migrants in Latin America with secure, affordable transfers. Again, giving people incentives to use your platform for specific reasons. For those reasons, maybe because it's a lot faster, more efficient. You get your money. You don't get hit with big fees. You don't have to have, checking, savings account, stuff like that. Say what you want. People will talk about it. Going more into this, Xena, also for migrant workers and digital nomads who are underbanked. Again, guys, key focus is underbanked, the people that just don't have access. They provide multi-currency wallet, credit card that enables them to make seamless day-to-day payments. So there's a whole bunch of other things mentioned here. It's definitely worth pointing out. In conclusion, before we wrap up tonight's stellar coverage, I want to point out some key things in regards to my own research. Techstars, the payments in regards to that, of course, powered by Stellar and, of course, MoneyGram. Now, they did announce this 2024 class, but at the end of the day, why is this significant to you and I? This is just a bunch of academic jargon? Is it just a nothing burger, as you guys would say? Well, what stood out for me in regards to two specific things, and that is, of course, with Stellar and MoneyGram in regards to this, is the specific announcement about how this was powered by Stellar and, of course, MoneyGram. As far as the benefits go, how does it really truly benefit Stellar? Great question. Four main key things I decided to get more into with my research, and that was the pathway forward towards increased adoption. At the end of the day, for all of us who are Stellar holders, isn't that the point? Yes. This program specifically focuses on fintech solutions, of course, in Latin America. And as we know, that is a specific region that does have growing interest in blockchain, DLT, but for specifically payments. By supporting startups utilizing Stellar's technology, the program can drive adoption of the Stellar network for cross-border and even domestic transactions. That's good. Being able to enable countries, domestically speaking as well, to empower them is a great thing, because they will realize that it's not just what El Salvador is doing with, I hate to say, garbage BTC. How about talent and innovation? Well, before we get into talent, listen to this. This collaboration with these specific startups can foster the development of new and innovative use cases for, of course, Stellar. Expand its capabilities, push boundaries in regards to the specific technology that, of course, we know that Stellar brings to the table in a very unique way. Now, back to the whole topic about talent. Hear me out. The program itself accesses or gives access to promising fintech talent, of course, in these specific regions. You know your geography, there's quite a few different Latin American countries. And of course, Stellar can potentially track and nurture these particular countries and their citizens to use the platform for future partners and employees to get towards that pathway forward for mass adoption. It also creates brand awareness. Again, say what you want, but word of mouth is a real thing. It's probably one of the best ways to advertise if you ever did anything in regards to business or just been around for a while, right? By partnering with established players like MoneyGram and this new thing, which is Techstars, this will increase Stellar's visibility and credibility, of course, within the fintech industry. We kind of understand that for the most part. All right, that's Stellar. At the end of the day, we got to recognize what's going on with MoneyGram. Well, four key things in regards to MoneyGram. You have to keep in mind, this is early stage access. So you got to treat it as though that this is kind of like, I would say, because I'm a gamer, I play since September, but kind of like your beta. This is like an open beta, right? And if anything, you're not charging people until sometime mid-June, fees basically. So this early stage access, MoneyGram gains early exposure to promising fintech startups with the potential to disrupt the payments landscape. Disrupt the payments landscape? Who's also trying to do this? Ripple. Let's face it, there's other ones like BSV and so on, but they're all competing. Do you have ones in which already have the mainstream partnerships? Well, the answer is yes. Stellar with MoneyGram. This benefit for MoneyGram does allow them to identify potential partners or acquisition targets. That's game changer because it positions themselves to have a one-up on the competition. That's a reality. What about technological advancements? Well, this specific collaboration with startups can very well help MoneyGram integrate new technologies and improve their own services, which, by the way, is going to make them more efficient and, of course, like we mentioned before, competitive. Say what you want to see them compete. That's the way it goes. Will there be market expansion? And if so, how will that benefit the likes of Moneygram? By supporting solutions focused on Latin American countries, this will align itself with MoneyGram's strategic approach towards expansion and, of course, brighten their presence in the world, especially in this growing market, but especially when it comes to Latin America. Say what you want, who is another industry player that has a lot of focus when it comes to Latin America. It's Quant Network with what? LACchain. Is there going to be a social impact in regards to this? Well, say what you want. That example that Alex gave in regards to, hey, my son was playing around with the app and it has dark mode, and I thought that was pretty awesome. Well, there will be a social media presence. And that social impact is huge because by supporting financial inclusion initiatives, MoneyGram itself can enhance its brand image and contribute to positive social change. Why? Because it could give countless examples of the people that are affected. And if you do interviews with some of these people and say, hey, this is how this is benefiting our village or our farm or my family, you get the gist. Finally, to wrap things up, in conclusion, the Techstars payments program does seem to be a win-win not only for Stellar, but for MoneyGram as well. It has the potential to drive innovation, adoption, and also market expansion for both entities, while also contributing to the development of fintech ecosystem, of course, in Latin America. So with that said, I think this is huge. You're finally getting an idea of where this comes into fruition. For people who haven't done their proper research, let's face it, what are they doing right now in regards to what they're posting on X and other platforms? Stellar doesn't move. Yeah, nothing is going to move unless you get to the point of mass adoption through an actual utility that has been put forth into motion. I always use this analogy. I used to do it back in the days when I was teaching at school. Picture yourself basically like at a farmland. You have all this equipment. And while that equipment can be put to good use, you have to have people utilizing, of course, those particular things. Crops don't get treated right without the help of people doing the actual work. If anything, things just sit there and collect rust and dust. But now you have this whole thing with MoneyGram. And for this thing to be going live here soon with Stellar, I think it's a big deal. But even when it goes live tomorrow or next week or wherever the case be, understand that it doesn't necessarily mean it'll go parabolic instantly. But if you know what you have and you know why you hold it and you've done a lot of research, you will come to the conclusion that you will be glad that you held Stellar, because guess what? It's one of the standout ones that could bring you a significant amount of life-changing money for, let's face it, your portfolio. Don't get fudded out. Stay the course. That's all I can say.